As we reported, California is still struggling to deal with record heat, and the state's electrical grid operator warned that rising demand could even lead to outages tonight.
But to California now, where the state is going from one weather extreme to another, including a historic heat wave.
The heat is particularly challenging right now, but the drought and the high temperatures could be putting California at higher risk for flooding and other complications from superstorms down the line. A recent study suggests the Golden State must also prepare for a large flood event.
So for the Bay Area, I think we've been kind of living through some of these changes with the more frequent droughts, drier and hotter spring to fall periods. We've been noticing the longer fire seasons. But at the same time, even with persistent drought, high impact, fewer storms. This was a storm that set a record for atmospheric water vapor.
The California heat wave is stretching into its 8th straight day. Multiple wildfires are burning across California as firefighters battle the flames along with the brutal heat.
Now more on that record-breaking temperatures today in Long Beach, where it hit 108 degrees by the ocean.
In the Southern California mountains, another wildfire exploded in size.
And then look at this scene on social media. Wind and rain pummeling this backyard patio and pool. All of it catching people off guard this Labor Day weekend.
Salt Lake City and Fresno, California had their hottest September days ever. The brutal heat is straining California's power grid, and power companies are pleading with the public to conserve energy.
Droughts becoming more persistent, as those climate change models were suggesting would happen, ongoing across California with increasing drought frequency and intensity. The historical context of what we can see in a high impact event versus one now in a climate change present and future. We have an increase in atmospheric moisture, which powers up higher rain rates and higher snow levels.
It's weather whiplash on the West Coast, from raging wildfires to flooded freeway. But massive fires in Northern California and Oregon are still burning. The explosive Mosquito Fire north of Sacramento is now the largest in the state, sending a plume of smoke and ash 40,000 feet in the air.
This is all happening as climate change is making the American West hotter and drier. Now, scientists say that climate change doesn't necessarily cause a heat wave to happen, but it can make them longer and more intense.
Casey, we just want to let people know we are hearing about an earthquake, another one, not a big one, but people are waking up. You might feel this. If we can take the iPad, it'll show you what we're talking about from the USGS. 3.0, it's 5 kilometers west of Manhattan Beach. So that's not far off the coast, right? So you might have felt that. We're hearing that people are feeling that. I think Sam Rubin actually felt it. I'm going to show you a tweet here that he just sent out. So
yeah, 3.0
you should
feel that.
Yeah, you'll feel that. The reason a lot of people go, oh, that's no big deal. You know what? It might not be a big deal. The only reason we want to let you know is because what happens, the first thing that you wonder is like, was that an earthquake or am I crazy? Like, you just want to know.
We want to assure you that you're not crazy.
There was one, so he felt it. He says it's 2.5-ish. He kind of knows it's a 3.0, so he felt it. Medium-sized shaker, Manhattan Beach.
He was pretty close.
11, yeah, pretty close. So this is according to the USGS. So we will keep you posted if we hear or feel anything else. But if you're just waking up, if that woke you up, it was an earthquake. Now go back to sleep. No, I'm just kidding.
It has been a most unusual week.
Check this out. The skies literally turned green last night in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Kind of looks like something out of a movie or a sci-fi flick. Happened right before severe weather slammed the area.
Tomorrow we're taking a look at a rather unique phenomenon. And this is a situation where the sky actually turned green. This was in South Dakota earlier this week.
Pictures on Facebook of that. Many viewers sent us pictures of the green clouds, according to meteorologist Scott.
Now, a green sky is extremely rare and not completely understood.
Well, very bright meteor, or maybe just a piece of space junk, burned up and could be seen over much of Texas last night.
Several reports on social media, people seeing this. From North Texas down to Houston, Armando Pena Jr. captured this video of the fireball in Hutto, north of Austin, about 10:20 last night. Some people between Austin and San Antonio reported actually hearing it. One reported it shook a house south of Austin. It was either part of the Delta Aquarid meteor shower that peaks this week or space junk, maybe just part of an old satellite.
But even climate scientists are surprised by the intensity.
Breaking these temperature records, for example, by so far several degrees, goes beyond what we expected at this point.
Wildfires threatening Yosemite, scorching heat baking the Pacific Northwest, biblical rains and floods in the nation's midsection, all the hallmarks of climate change. This week, Kentucky endured deadly 1 in 1,000-year rain and flood events. Precipitation events are now more frequent and intense across the country.
A state of emergency has been declared in that area of California. The blaze has grown fast since Friday.
Explosive and extreme, engulfing thousands of acres of woodland. Hundreds of firefighters struggle to tackle the blaze with help from above. But as temperatures continue to soar, intensified by years of extreme drought, there's concern things will only worsen over the months ahead.
Trying to put out what a spokesperson told me is one of the largest fires in this area's history. We're right here on the Czech-German border in this beautiful, pristine, natural wilderness, national park that's a huge draw.
Europe has been burning. It's a record-breaking fire season across the continent. In Spain, the sun-baked land is a tinderbox, allowing the fires to spread, but the records go beyond fire.
The climate in Spain is the driest it's been for over 1,000 years. And here, in the centre of the country, in Castilla-La Mancha, the land has never been lush and the water has always been in short supply. Yet it's clear we're seeing the impact of climate change. Water's actually getting scarcer, with tensions growing between local farmers desperate to maintain their livelihoods and those trying to protect the natural environment.
Now, an ecological disaster that has puzzled scientists from Poland and Germany for weeks now.
An environmental catastrophe. Tons of fish have been washed up along hundreds of kilometers.
It's been called an environmental catastrophe of unprecedented scale. Tons of dead fish washing up in the river Oder between Germany and Poland. Poisoned by a so far mystery pollutant.
Tons are washing up in the river, which helps form Germany's border with Poland. Johannes Giebermann is an environmentalist who lives in this area. He's been documenting the crisis from its beginning.
I've never seen so many dead fish in my life.
Something unheard of for people living here.
I have been fishing here for 40 years and have never experienced anything like this on this scale. It gives me goosebumps when I see how many dead fish there are here in the Oder.
Official advice is for people to stay away from the river while the authorities establish what is killing the fish.
As of today, no water tests have confirmed the presence of toxic substances.
There has never in my life been such an occurrence that so many fish died over such a short time. Unusual oxygen levels of very low water levels.
Now, we're learning about a strange situation at an Illinois creek. Residents near Clear Creek have reported a large amount of dead fish. The creek flows through Clark and Edgar County.
It's happened again, another dead fish spill on a local beach. This isn't the first time it's been a health problem for people who want to enjoy their summers on the sand.
People tell me they started noticing the dead fish about 7:30 this morning. This time, though, it was not just menhaden. There were larger fish species involved as well.
It seems like an unmitigated environmental disaster.
Beth Deal and her family are visiting from Roanoke. She was surprised by what she saw this morning on the beach at Kipta State Park.
Birds everywhere. And then a few minutes after that, we just saw thousands of menhaden floating towards the beach.
We started seeing just thousands of dotted fish in the ocean.
We're in the heart of summer, and the one thing on your mind is getting in the water and cooling off. There's a few things you want to keep in mind before bring your family to the beach.
Piles of dead alewives, tiny silvery fish are lining the beaches of Lake Michigan, rolling in wave by wave.
The die-off we have this year is probably in the millions. No issues with, pollution or anything in Lake Michigan. It's probably the cleanest it's been.
This year, the reports and the piles keep growing, and it's a little bit more than the years past.
Hitting historical highs upon invasion.
Well, Europe is battling extremes of fire, flood and drought all at the same time.
Meteorologists there say Europe's conditions could be worse than they've ever been in more than 500 years.
The latest in a series of fierce heat waves has moved into the U.S. Northwest, and violent storms and drought are ravaging parts of Europe and Asia.
A sea of flames washes across a national park in central Portugal.
140-mile-an-hour winds hit the island of Corsica, just off the coast.
It's the same in Italy. Firefighters in temperatures of 40 degrees battling to contain blazes in Sicily, while on the island of Pantelleria, tourists in Venice had to run for cover as wild winds and rain swept in.
Elsewhere, dead fish bake in the hot summer sun as Europe endures its fourth heat wave. But the lack of rain has British farmers fearing their livestock might run out of food.
I've lived here all my life, I'm 24, and I've never seen it so dry.
Take this field in London. It should be filled with green grass.
In cities across France, sheets of rain and hail pound the streets. Trees are uprooted in backyards, and people wade through storm waters overflowing onto sidewalks. These extreme events, which climate scientists say are increasingly being driven by a warming world, are spreading wider and wider. In Germany, it's been the opposite. An extreme drought has shrunk some of the nation's major rivers.
Such is summer in Europe. It's been marked by record-breaking extreme temperatures. And the continent's worst drought in years, perhaps centuries, has pushed water levels so low on the Danube River in eastern Serbia that more than 20 warships from World War II have been uncovered. In their holds, thousands of tons of ammunition.
Over 4,000 miles away in China, another drought is underway. Facing months of heat waves, residents of Chongqing in the Sichuan province say the wind now just blows heat.
I feel like I'm standing on a gas stove.
The Yangtze River has shrunk to half its normal width.
We could hardly imagine at the moment that we're speaking apocalyptic scenes which took place this morning, the only witnesses to the violence of the elements.
It has seen it all. What's left? On the 17th of August, even hailstorm fell on parts of France. Is any of this normal? It is not. This is extreme weather. This is climate change, changing our world and our reality.
Then,